So I recently got a call from a close family member who had a scary health diagnosis. I didn't think that this would happen to this family member for a good at least 5 or 10 years down the road. But suddenly this family member's estate planning became a lot more urgent. So what happens when you have a parent or another family member whose physical or mental health suddenly declines? What should they have in place? And how can you tell if it's really sufficient for what they need? Well, each situation is unique, but there are steps you can take that apply to almost anyone. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what to look for and what to expect. First, I want to congratulate you for watching this video because you're thinking about your parents' estate planning now. It could be parents, it could be grandparents, it could be another loved family member who's probably elderly, but we're going to be talking, I'm just generally going to say parents in this video. I want to let you know that doing parents' estate planning while they're still alive and have capacity is much easier and much cheaper than trying to do this when they are incapacitated or after their death. So we really want to address it now. So really there's 3 categories to look at when we're looking at planning for parents and their incapacity and death. The first one is management. How do we make sure that their assets can be managed when they're incapacitated or when they're gone? So the first thing you should make sure that your parents have, and really all of us should have, is a durable power of attorney and an advanced healthcare directive. So these are documents that you can sign, the principal can sign while they're alive, and it applies if they're still alive but they're sick. Then somebody can sign financial documents on their behalf and talk to the doctors and access their medical records. And I actually have videos on both of these topics, on durable powers of attorney and on healthcare directives, and I encourage you to watch those. So you really want to make sure that those 2 documents are up to date for your parents. I do want to note that some banks don't like accepting durable powers of attorney, even though they're required by law. Those banks might have their own power of attorney form that they want your parents to sign. So if you know that your parent has a big account that's not in the trust, by the way, because the power of attorney covers things outside the trust. If they have a big account that's not in the trust, you should get them to sign a power of attorney at that bank so you can manage assets held specifically at that bank. Okay, so your parents might have a bank account and they want you to be able to pay for their bills or any invoices that come up. Well, how can you set that up? Well, they might have a checking or savings account and they want to name you as a co-signer. Well, there's really 2 ways that this can be done. You can either be a co-owner of the account or you can be an alternate signatory. You can sign on behalf of your parents, but you're not an owner, all right? And it's different because if you're a co-owner, then that means that when that parent dies, all of those assets go straight to you. Whereas if you're a signer on the account, that just means that you can manage those assets, but the assets in that account, perhaps they go where it's named on a payable on death beneficiary designation. We don't know. So you talk with your parents to see, do they want you to be a co-owner or do they just want you to have the power to sign on their behalf?
Hey everyone! If you like my mom's video, like and subscribe.
Now for assets inside the trust, the trustee manages that. So if you have a parent who's getting older or who just wants you to take over, your parent can actually resign as trustee and have you take over as trustee. Or your parent could stay on as trustee and name you as co-trustee. Now, if they name you as co-trustee, both of you still need to sign for major transactions. Let's say if you want to sell a house that's titled in the trust. Now, if you have you and your parent as co-trustees and then your parent becomes incapacitated, you can usually get a couple of doctor's letters to state that they're incapacitated, and then the parent is removed as a co-trustee and then you're sole trustee. So it kind of flows nicely like that. So now the second category of things to look for is the category of distribution. Where are your parents' assets going to go when they're gone? And does what they have right now match what they want? So you'll want to look over the terms of your parents' trust and see if it matches their wishes. You might want to take your parents' trust into an attorney and have them translate the trust for you. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients come in and they say, oh, I'll just tell you what's in the trust, and then they tell me certain things. And that's not actually what's in the trust. The trust says something different. Their understanding of what's in the trust is different from what's actually written in the trust. and they've been very, very surprised. So I suggest you get somebody who speaks trust language to look over your trust and make sure that it comports with your wishes. And if there's something that the parents want to change while they still have capacity, now's the time for them to make those changes. Once your parents are incapacitated or upon their death, typically you're not able to change the trust at all. So if they've told you something, like, hey, I want to write Jerry out of the will, or I want you to get more, but they don't actually modify the trust to accomplish that, it's as if it never happened. We have something called the statute of frauds, which means that all stuff relating to contracts must be written down. We can't just rely on oral agreements or arrangements, okay? So make sure that your parents make that amendment to that trust while they're still alive, if that's an amendment they really want to make sure happens. Okay, so the third category of things to look for is funding, all right? I have some clients come in where they have this beautifully written trust, and it's in this gorgeous binder, and they're so proud of this trust, and maybe they want to change a few things. And then I ask them, so what's in the trust? And they go, well, what do you mean? And I say, well, the trust is like a basket. You need to actually fund the trust. You have to put stuff in the trust. And nobody ever put anything in the trust. Or maybe just their house is titled in the trust, but they have huge bank and brokerage accounts that are still in their individual name. Yikes! We don't want that to happen. So one thing you always want to do as your parents are getting older is make sure that the trust is properly funded. I actually have a video just on funding the trust, and I recommend that you watch that. But just in summary, for the bank and brokerage accounts and for a house and mutual funds, those sorts of things, those should be titled in the trust. So Joe and Jane Smith, trustees of the Smith Family Trust. And for retirement accounts and life insurance, you need to make sure that the beneficiaries named match what your family wants. Now, if your parents have just named the other parent as the beneficiary and nobody is a backup, well, what happens if both parents die at the same time? Or if one parent dies and then the surviving parent never updates it? So make sure that those beneficiary designations have a contingent beneficiary named as well, a backup beneficiary, just in case. So I hope that this has provided good information for you, and it's encouraged you to have your parents go consult an estate planning attorney right away to make sure that what they want in terms of management, of distribution, and of funding are accurately reflected and updated in the trust and in titling for the trust. We want your parents' estate plan to pass that stress test when they're incapacitated or upon their death. If you want to learn more about what happens to your parents' trust when you die, I have a video here all about trust administration, and I encourage you to watch that video. I'll see you over there.
Hello everyone. If you liked my mom's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you all next time.